Hey, this is Scott Spears, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of The Exchange here on WGH Talk. And there is a lot to talk about, never a lack of things in the new administration that we're in, the new Trump administration. President Trump, Donald Trump, take two is what we're in, and things happen every single day of the week, every hour of the day. Something is flying around, and it's big news, so it's always good to get together with Christian Pearson, who is the youngest Democrat in Ohio to go to the Democratic Convention in 2024, and the second youngest in the country to go to that convention, so that's very interesting to get his take. And then, of course, Marion's favorite daughter, 40th President of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, along with us for the ride to talk about everything that's been going on. Let's start with the Super Bowl, because that came and went. Not a good night for the Kansas City Chiefs, but a couple stories involving politics happened at the Super Bowl. The first is, for the first time in history, a sitting president, Donald Trump, did attend the Super Bowl in New Orleans, but the NFL edited their End Racism slogan in the end zone for the first time since 2021 to say, "Choose love." Now, they said they did not do that because President Trump was attending. Some people feel they did do that, but we don't know. Also, now that the game has happened, Philadelphia won big over the Chiefs. The three-peat did not happen. President Trump did attend, but he left at halftime, and Kendrick Lamar's halftime show, if they took care of end racism in the end zone, Kendrick Lamar certainly threw it back in their face at halftime with the American flag being made of all African Americans in the halftime show, Serena Williams being out there doing her thing. So that's the story from the Super Bowl. Christian, what'd you make of the whole thing?
To be completely honest with you, I only watched the first half plus about the first half of the halftime show. So, I thought the halftime show landed perfectly. I thought, Kendrick Lamar was a perfect pick for the, prime audience of the Super Bowl, which is mostly younger people. With respect to the, they removed the End Racism slogan. They're just doing what every other large corporation is doing now after the election and the so-called attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, I'm not surprised. They're just playing to, corporate America is trying to play more towards what the White House wants, and that's how it'll be.
But they knew that, this was the last game of the season. End racism had been there since 2021 in the end zone. Why this particular game? And they also knew what the halftime show was going to be. I'm sure somebody had seen it. They practiced it. They knew what it was going to be. So it on one hand, I think, well, maybe they did do it because President Trump was there. But then I think they certainly weren't acquiescing to him during the halftime show, because that was, I think it ticked him off. He left.
Well, yeah, from what I know about the Super Bowl and the defense of the NFL, they tend to bring out new things for the next season at the Super Bowl. The networks will bring out new graphics packages for the networks. They'll bring out new logos. They'll bring out X. They'll bring out Y during the Super Bowl ahead of the next season. So I read that was a move for the next season, and they brought it out during the Super Bowl to sort of debut it. But we can only imagine what the NFL was thinking about Trump being in attendance in the halftime show and how that all played together.
It was interesting. Mary Ellen, what did you make of the Super Bowl?
Oh, well, I was sort of hoping the Chiefs would win, so I was a little disappointed, but they got it going in the second half pretty good. I think if the game had been a little longer, they might have done some more. They
came on in the end.
They finally figured it out, whatever was wrong there. But, I kind of wanted to see Taylor Swift happy.
Yeah. Wasn't a happy night for her.
No, not at all. And they booed her. I thought that was terrible. People are so rude. Why would you boo anybody? Well, there was no reason to boo her.
I'm sure the booing her was more booing Kansas City. She is the new face of Kansas City.
But not her.
Yeah.
She's a nice person.
Now, my understanding was, and I don't go too deep into this, but it's my understanding what she had been a Philadelphia fan she has some connection to Philadelphia.
I think she was raised there.
Raised in
Born there
Philadelphia.
or something to
is
that
that right?
effect.
and that she
yes.
had cheered for them before.
Oh.
So this was kind of like they felt
Oh.
she was turning their back.
Oh,
She
is
was
that
turning
who
her back.
booed, or do you know?
Well, I think that it was in I'm not sure because it was in New Orleans. It was
Yeah.
Kansas City and Philadelphia. I would guess it was the Philadelphia fans that booed her.
Yeah, don't you love New Orleans?
Now, New Orleans is great.
I think that's the nicest place to visit. I'd like to go there again. Yeah.
I think that they have had such trouble with Hurricane Katrina and then
Well,
things
yeah.
that have gone, but they come back.
Yeah, and that water system out there, I am so confused with the way they do that. It's amazing.
Yeah. And there's a whole culture there that there isn't anywhere else.
Yeah, there is this family. Now I can't think of their name, but she was state treasurer of the state when I was state treasurer, and then her brother was head of the Wallace campaign. And so, can you remember his name?
George Wallace?
No,
Henry Wallace?
no, Kamala.
Oh.
Kamala's campaign.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, like you're right. The man who was the
the chairman.
campaign. I gotcha.
Yeah, he was from New Orleans. In fact,
Landrew.
yeah,
There you go,
Landrew,
Miss
that's
Landrew.
it. It was Mary Landrew was the one that was state treasurer, his sister, and then their father had been the mayor of the city. And I think that was all he was just the mayor, but he was very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very powerful.
I think Henry Wallace was Roosevelt's vice president.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all wondered about that when that happened.
He got
too.
bounced out of there for
Yeah.
Truman.
Yeah, and everybody wondered about Truman, too, because they weren't happy about Truman.
What do you make of a president going to the Super Bowl?
Well, I think if he wants to go, he should go. This president, though, did he have Ivanka with him, or did he have his wife?
I think his daughter was there. I remember seeing his daughter.
Okay, Ivanka was there with him, I thought. And and he was, I think he just goes to have people see him, really. I don't know how interested in sports he is, but that's my thought.
What do you make about the idea of the NFL taking out the end racism and putting in the choose love in the end zone?
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I don't, they do some crazy things, yeah.
And I don't think Trump enjoyed the halftime show.
I don't know, but I sure didn't enjoy it. I thought I like to see something pretty up there, and that was far from pretty.
It was different.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people. It seemed like people either loved it or hated it.
Yeah, I like to see women dancing and nice stuff. That was men and women in pajamas.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
It was different.
Yeah.
But I guess Kendrick Lamar, it's my understanding he's also a poet laureate. And so I think there was a lot of subliminal things going on there.
Well, I suppose he's terrific in his own realm, What I was fascinated with was all those people getting out of that car. They must have been fed up from
Yeah.
underneath there. I thought, wow.
Yeah, that's right. The magic of the Super Bowl.
Yes,
the magic of
right,
the Super Bowl.
right.
Now, another part of the Super Bowl, prior to the Super Bowl, that was interesting, in a press conference, Travis Kelce was asked about President Trump attending the Super Bowl. He said, "It's awesome. I think it's great. It's an honor to have a sitting president here." Now, a lot of people got angry about this because President Trump had tweeted during the campaign, "I hate Taylor Swift," which is his girlfriend. So the Taylor Swift fans were not happy about Travis Kelce's answer when asked about the president being there. What else was he supposed to say? I mean,
I thought he said what he should say.
Yeah. I thought he was.
I mean, why tick off anybody just because he said something bad? I would never say anything bad if I was in that position. you know.
Now, if somebody goes after your girlfriend in this particular case, though,
Yeah.
are you obligated to defend them? Or because you're in the public eye and you're about to play the biggest game of your career, do you just say...
Well, he didn't say anything about her.
No.
I mean, and when he was talking, this is said otherwise. So, I mean, it wasn't directly to Travis.
No, this was
See,
just...
so he did not need to respond to that.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
Christian, what do you make of her fans being angry about this?
Well, I mean, it's completely reasonable. This is the soon-to-be spouse of the person
Is it?
that you are.
Are they going to be married?
Who knows?
See, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was looking forward to.
I thought that was going to happen.
Yes, and I think because of the way the game went, it didn't happen.
She had to console him after instead of get
Yes,
proposed. She had to say, I'm sorry how
Right.
badly this went.
But I mean, yeah, you say what you're supposed to say. Now, if this were a year ago and if Biden won, which he should have done, it's an incredibly media savvy
Joe Biden
move.
was there.
Oh,
well,
was she?
Yeah, she
I
was.
knew she
Well,
was supposed to be there.
Well, but Trump's the first sitting president. That's something that Joe Biden should have done. But let's say that Joe Biden went last year, and the same question was asked to Travis Kelce and whoever was on the 49ers. If he said, I'm happy that the presidents will be there, it's awesome, it's cool, you would have had 47% of the country saying that Travis Kelce is woke, he is...
Oh,
he's
you
X,
think?
he's Y. Oh, yeah. I mean, Republicans love to project. They call Democrats snowflakes, they call them X, they call them Y. But at the end of the day, it's Republicans who are the ones who are overly sensitive overly quickly.
Now, see, if somebody asked me about whoever the president is, if they said the president's coming, how do you feel? I would say, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Why would you turn that down?
No.
I mean, even if you didn't vote for the person or you don't like the person, why? It's more about the position, I think, than the person. I mean, there have been some really, like Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
If Nixon came to something, you would say, I'm glad Nixon's here. He's a former president, but you might not really like the guy.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people are losing. Like her fans, for instance, they're losing that. It's the office of the presidency that's being represented there, and you're playing in front of, the most powerful person in the world, even if it was just for a half.
So you feel he should have defended her or not?
Oh, should he have? I think, given the circumstances, he was justified in saying what he said and nothing more.
You know what's interesting?
If it were, smaller game in the middle of the season and Trump's was going to come, then, yeah, I would think he would be justified. Or maybe if he hadn't just taken office. He's still kind of on that honeymoon period, obviously. So we're sitting with a lot of people. They're being overly nice to him. People in positions of power, they're being respectful, kind, all that. Because he's the new president, they want to, make a good impression.
Well, yeah, but Now, see, the common wisdom before the game, and, I guess hindsight's 20/20, was that this is the biggest game of his life. They could have three-peated, might have been the last game of his life, and he did not need to be thinking about anything else but playing that game. That's why he did not need to worry about this. But with how badly he played, I guess it didn't really matter. He could have said anything because it was awful. I mean, I think that's why, when you lose by just a little bit, that hurts, but it's okay. When you're considered a dynasty and you're about to do something no NFL team has ever done in 59 years of the Super Bowl, and you not only lose, you get demolished, where people are leaving at halftime, I think that's a real... Would you rather lose, Mary Ellen, an election by a little bit or a lot?
It's very painful to lose it by a little bit, I'll tell you.
Yeah. But I would think getting blown out like that after
Getting blown out, you want to go shoot yourself.
Exactly, and I think that's what was going on at the end of the game. I think he thought, geez, that was the end of my career. This is awful. So she had to run down there. She couldn't take the ring. She had to console him and say, I'm sorry that this was such a disaster for you. So
Exactly.
I don't know that it mattered in the end. Now, changing gears, though, that was the Super Bowl. This is very interesting. The Trump administration has ordered the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to stop nearly all of its work, effectively shutting down an agency that was created to protect consumers after the 2008 financial crisis and subprime mortgage lending scandal. Russell Vought, the newly installed director of the Office of Management and Budget, directed the CFPB in a Saturday night email confirmed by the Associated Press to stop work on proposed rules, to suspend the effective dates on any rules that were finalized but not yet effective, and to stop investigative work and not begin any new investigations. And on Monday morning on my program, I had Rich Cordray on, the first director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and he said this was illegal. Congress set this up. It's illegal to defund this. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how dangerous is it now in the country? He said a 10. So that comes from the original director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Well, Mary Ellen, we were talking about all the things they were doing in Treasury last week. Now they're over in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah, but they're still in Treasury, too.
Shutting down a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
Looking at the Department of Education, looking at the Defense Department, shutting down the CFPB. What did you make when you heard this? That here was a group, we about went under as a country financially in 2008, and now the group that was put in place to make sure that never happened again is essentially gone.
Yes. Well, I tell you, the Treasury is where I'm really worried about everything. And they keep saying that he can get into the accounts now. I mean, at first they said he couldn't. Now they're saying he can, which really worries me. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, you know, Christian, how do you feel about this? And then I want to go to another place in this whole conversation.
I think, Russell Vought, he was the mastermind behind Project 2025.
Which Trump didn't know anything about.
No, Trump knew nothing about it, yet
right.
this guy ran the OMB last time, he runs it this time. I mean, yeah, it's certainly, I'm sure it's not lawful, especially if the CFPB was set up by an act of Congress, but when has Trump or his administration been known to follow the law or care what the law says? So, they're going to stop doing everything that they do, and when consumers inevitably need to be protected in the coming years, then there's going to be, no one there for them. And it's, Republicans love to attack Democrats for defunding things, namely defunding the police, which was not true. Yet they are defunding everything now, including the police. Lots of Republicans last year, wanted to defund the FBI after Trump, but that's not related.
I have a question. The judges that are coming out against these things, who is going to rule on what the judge does? Where is the ruling that takes place?
Well, that's what leads to what a lot of newspapers, a lot of media have said. We are now in a constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
And there have not been too many constitutional crises in this country. I think the last one was during Nixon, when the question came, did he have to turn over the tapes to the Watergate Special Counsel? The Supreme Court ruled he did, and he did.
Yeah,
So,
but I would hate to see this go to the Supreme Court because they're going to rule with the president in every case.
And that's where we are. This is where we are in the country. This is what is so confusing right now, is that Trump said through an executive order that he was going to cut funding to programs. And the courts came in and said, you can't do that. And he went on and continued to do it, defying the court order. So then the courts found that out and said, we told you to stop doing this. You're continuing to break the law. So then Trump told his Justice Department not to enforce what the judges were saying.
Yeah.
So the only place this goes, in my opinion, is the Supreme Court.
Well, unless if it's a state situation, it would be the state people.
I think it's federal, though, because
It's all federal.
It's federal grant
Okay.
money.
But at the same time, who's gonna? Let's say the Supreme Court does rule in a way that is in opposition to Trump, who enforces that? I mean, I just remember a couple of years ago.
Hey, Tulsi Gabbard got in this afternoon.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, she's head of intelligence now, the person that was once called a Russian asset.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, the thing with the courts remind me of gerrymandering. The Supreme Court kept ruling and ruling and ruling, but they had that's what the Chief Justice said, we have no way to enforce this. I don't have a police force to go and arrest the governor. So that's what'll happen here, and the Supreme Court. More recently, people have started to lose faith in the Supreme Court. Some argue it's lost its legitimacy, and I feel like that's what's going to continue to happen here. I mean, even if roles are sort of switched and they rule against Trump, he'll just view it as some sort of advisory opinion or a suggestion and won't, follow what they say.
Do you think there's any chance that the Supreme Court does rule against Trump in this?
I think it'll probably you might flip a justice.
I think Roberts would not rule for him.
You might get Roberts, you might get Kavanaugh, you might get Gorsuch, because they've kind of been surprises the last few years. But apart from that, I mean, it'll be 5-4 one way or the other still somehow.
Who's the black judge?
Thomas.
Did you see what he said today?
What did he say?
He said, quit criticizing me and quit, 2 words. But it was that he was trying to, evidently it was a newspaper, I'm guessing on that, but that's what he said. He said, quit criticizing me or he's going to do something, So imagine that.
Well, it's interesting. We found out today that the Associated Press was kicked out of the presidential executive signings because Trump did not like that the Associated Press would not refer to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. So now the Associated Press is suing Trump for First Amendment.
Him sitting there signing his name is all I've seen since he took office.
I know.
If that isn't the stupidest picture that I ever saw,
Well,
and his name takes up the whole page.
Well, I've never seen anything like this in general. Why is Congress, the Senate, why are they there? I mean, at this point, he's just changing laws and changing things with executive orders. I mean, other presidents have done that, but I don't think it's been to this degree.
No, I mean, Congress is where it's all supposed to be, all the laws are supposed to be made, and they certainly haven't been doing it. I don't know. Things are just in such a turmoil. I don't realize how they can do this.
I mean, to be fair, he said he would be a dictator on day one. So what's the point of having a Congress? What's the point of having a judiciary? What's the point of having a city council in this city? Like, what's the point of having any other government entity that's not the executive office of the president? Because, I mean, that's what he said. Nothing else matters. He doesn't follow what anyone else has to say. So just let the chief executive, wherever you are, control everything.
He didn't have his hand on the Bible.
No,
I
he did not.
I don't think he's in office.
I
think it's not for real.
See, when I saw that, and I was watching and I saw that, and it just, you would think that if the Democrats had any, oomph left, you would have had some.
Where are they? That's I wonder all.
They're
I mean,
asleep.
they have their little press conferences, but I think people unfortunately look at Schumer as a yesterday, and he's out there all the time with the glasses down on the end of his nose, and people are even starting to make fun of him because of it, and that's not good.
No.
And you've got what's her name is there a lot, Elizabeth Warren, but people have
They were outside of Treasury. They'd all banded out there.
See, you would expect we would have had some freshman member of Congress try to file a lawsuit and say Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible, so he's not president. But where I knew that after the election that Democrats were on the wrong path was the race for House Oversight Committee ranking member. And that's the committee where you get that's the one during the Trump years. All of the cameras were always on that committee. There were always really big hearings. You get the most media exposure of any other committee in the House. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was running. She makes arguments very incoherently. She's respectful to the other side. She listens to what they have to say. And we could have had her. She's young. She's media savvy. She knows how to talk to people. But we didn't elect her. We elected a 75-year-old guy from Virginia who's in very declining health. And we've already seen, in hearings he's been I'm sure he's trying, but he's incredibly weak when it comes to responding to people like Nancy Mace and Jim Jordan and at press conferences. I mean, we've got to be projecting strength, and we pushed out the old guy last time in Biden, but we're not doing that in Congress. So that's, we've just got to start there.
Where are the people who've got currently nothing to lose? Kamala Harris, when she conceded the election, said, "I'm still in the fight." Well, where is she?
She hasn't been on TV.
Well, no. To be fair to her, I don't think we saw Al Gore on TV that much after he lost. I'm sure we did after the election, but it's.
Well, I understand, but I think there's an executive flourish going on here, and a possible constitutional crisis, and I think to stay in your house and sulk, I don't think is the thing to do at this point.
No. I mean, I don't think we're giving press conferences and we're sending strongly worded letters, and that's all we're doing. And there needs to be some member of Congress, backbencher, no one knows who they are, just really start to like how Tim Walz was. That week in the summer, he was on TV all the time. We had no idea who he was, and then everybody knew and everyone loved him. We need someone on TV who can just. But
I think age is wrong. I think I've always thought that to say age is the problem is not right. I think it's the charisma. Chuck Schumer has never been a charismatic guy.
No.
So I don't think it's his age that's the problem. I think, where's Maxine Waters? Now, people like to watch her. Now, she's not young.
She'd kick it up.
She certainly would. People follow her because she says whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Now, where's she at? She's still, as far as I know, a part of this whole thing. Why don't they put the camera on her? Put her out there in those things.
Well, Elizabeth Warren's out there talking and doing a good job.
And for whatever it's worth, Bernie Sanders does get covered when he's out there saying.
But that's what I wonder, if they're not covering Kamala. Whether she can't get on TV.
But to be fair, there's been nothing about her to cover. Like, I think she went to a Laker game and then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She needs to say something.
Yeah, and especially she wants to run for governor of California next year and try to pull some Richard Nixon move. Like, it would be wise to start to, set the stage for that now.
Well, this is where we're kind of going here. Why don't we talk about this? A recent article in Politico said that J.D. Vance is gaining traction by using TikTok and becoming a provocateur. Jack Schlossberg, who I believe is the grandson of JFK, thinks Democrats need to do the same. They need a provocateur who's on social media, who says things that are a little bit nutty, but it gets them attention. There's nobody, like when Trump was running for office, he used to call the morning show if somebody was talking about him, and they would put him on.
Yeah.
But he said crazy things, but it got covered. The Democrats need that person, is what Schlossberg is saying, and they don't have it.
Evidently not.
Yeah, I don't think we can copy what Trump did, and what him and his people do. They just say anything. Oftentimes they just spout complete lies. I think it would be hard to find someone on the left who would be willing to just spout complete lies, but
not lie. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but just say what's on your. Don't worry about what the political advisors say. Don't worry about anything. Just get on there and say what you mean what you say.
And I think Speaker of the House could do it. He's very good.
Yeah, well, he's good, but he's got a lot of potential. But at the same time, his message is. It's like he's messaging against Trump in the first administration or a typical Republican. You're not really, you're saying...
You don't like his message.
Yes, you're just saying Trump's a bad guy, but you've been saying Trump's a bad guy for 8 or 9 years. We need something a little more creative.
Pelosi was good at this.
Yes, she was.
Put her out there. What's she got to lose?
Right.
That might be an issue of weakness now because, she, she broke her hip or something, and I'm sure she, doesn't want to... She's cultivated this image of being a strong person, and if she's got to, use something to help her walk around, that might just small things like that might be.
Well, no,
keeping her out.
They can do that without her showing anything like that. Yeah. Just her head.
We're going to come back and finish this conversation. We got to take a hard break here. We're coming back. Who's going to be the provocateur for the Democrats? Back after this. Now, giving the same speech that she gave 30 years ago today, March 1st, 1994. What a pleasure it is to welcome to this stage the 40th President of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow.
Hi y'all, my name is Madison Miller. I'm Miss Ohio 2023 and I just finished with the radio show here on Groundhog Day after being the honorary groundhog. We had a blast. It was a very in-depth and insightful conversation. I love being able to hear the perspectives of others and being surrounded by such incredible women in the process was amazing. So great. We can start Groundhog Day. Sorry for the 6 weeks of extra winter.
Cups of coffee in inches, in miles, and laughter and strife. In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about
It is with great pride and privilege that I know this man who has not been on national television or in professional wrestling ring in 31 years. Welcome back, class 2024 Hall of Famer, Thunderbolt Pearson. I'm full of him, and I wish I had him.
journeys to plan? 525,600 minutes. How do you measure
one.
of a woman?
There they go, and away they go. Now, Matt, how do you think Mary Ellen felt about the 2024 election? How it turned out? Do you have some betting odds on that?
Oh, I bet she doesn't feel very well about it.
But we'll always have balloons, right, Mary Ellen?
Right.
Red, white, and blue.
We're trying to be happy.
Hey, Scott Spears here with Harry Tackett and the super fan himself, Hall of Famer Buckeye Guy. And we are at Monday Night Raw here in the Jerome Schottenstein Center. What fun it's going to be. Hey, Scott Spears here in the Arts and Crafts Building. We are locked in. We're in the place where no man can go. During the pie contest, the judging will begin momentarily. 54 pies have been entered. 2, 3.
Time is winding up.
If we only had more time.
Just a little more time, if you will.
Hey, Scott Spears back with Christian Pearson and Mary Ellen Withrow. And the question on the table before we left was, and I'm going to read the story again because you might be just joining us. A recent article in Politico said that J.D. Vance is gaining traction by using TikTok and becoming a provocateur. Jack Schlossberg, the grandson of JFK, thinks that the Democrats need to do the same. They need to create a provocateur who is saying things not necessarily lies, but somebody who can get attention, who when they hear something on a morning show that they don't like is going to call that morning show's control room and say, put me on. That's a load of nonsense. Speak like that in a way, be entertaining. And I don't think this is an age thing. A matter of fact, I always call it the Betty White factor. Betty White was not usually, she was known, but she was not hugely popular throughout her career. But when she went on Saturday Night Live in her late 80s, she became more popular than she ever was because she was at that stage in life where she didn't have to worry about the rest of her career because she was, in her late 80s. So there are a lot of Hillary Clinton would be somebody like that. What she got to lose. Nancy Pelosi would be somebody. Maxine Waters would be somebody like that.
The woman in Congress that was head of the inauguration.
Klobuchar.
Yeah,
I-
she
I-
would
I
be
think-
very good.
I think she would be a great, when Democrats retake the Senate, she'd be a good Senate majority leader. Or on the topic of age, it's not so much someone's old, it's someone who just doesn't have the energy. Because like you said about Maxine Waters, she has the energy.
Yeah, but you know what, and God rest his soul, but I always said that, and obviously the Democrats have lost everything in Ohio. At one point, even if he would have lost, I thought Jerry Springer would have been a good choice. Everybody knew who he was. Mm-hmm. He had a political background, and he had energy. When I interviewed him, he said it. He just said what he thought. If he thought the person was a dictator, he said it. And even though Jerry Springer did come with some baggage, God knows President Trump came with some baggage, he's got that built-in, everybody knows him factor. And for some reason, the Democrats tend to run away from that instead of running toward it. And I'm not sure why that is.
I voted for Jerry Springer.
Really?
Yeah. There was Brown and Celeste. And I liked Jerry Springer.
So even, obviously, you became a fan of Celeste as it went down.
After he got in. After I got in.
But during that election, you voted for Springer.
Yes, I did.
What appealed, because this is before the talk show, what appealed about him to you?
Well, I had gone, when I was campaigning, I had stopped in and talked to him, and then that's the reason. I liked what he was saying, and then he got, after he was out of political office and got into that terrible TV show, that just ruined his reputation. But the guy was good. I mean...
But the thing, and the TV show was terrible, and when I asked him about it, when I interviewed him, because Obama sent him out to campaign.
Did he?
He did. I mean, that's when I interviewed Springer, as he was campaigning for Obama in Ohio.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, he didn't defend his TV show. He said it is nonsense.
Yeah,
but
right.
you know what? It was nonsense that is the only talk show that ever beat Oprah in 25 years.
Oh, really?
So a lot of people watched it. And even though Trump's Apprentice show was really nonsense, it made him a known entity. And that's what Jerry Springer's show did. And I think, I just don't understand why the Democrats, will disqualify somebody for that. Put them in there. If people don't like him, they won't vote for him. But give him a shot. I mean, it was always seen like Jerry Springer can't run because he's got that baggage. I think Jerry Springer would have done very well with the kids. Everybody knew who he was.
And I think that's a point you make, is that a lot of Democrats are scared of failure. A lot of people didn't want Tim Maltz to be vice president. Not to dwell on the past election, it's just a good example. People weren't big fans of his, let's say on the internet, just because they didn't know much about him. They thought he was too, Midwestern dad, or, too kind of laid back to be a candidate for vice president. And, we need to stop being scared. We need to start saying things. Trump, I'm not saying we say what Trump is saying, but, Trump was direct with people. And Democrats need someone who is direct with people.
I'll tell you something very interesting. Ted Strickland, former governor, who was the oldest delegate to the so he's still heavily involved in politics. When he comes on my show, it's always been this way. He is entertaining.
Yeah,
he talks with passion.
Uh-huh.
He's on the topics. He doesn't censor himself.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought is he's too old. Well, who cares? He knows what he's talking about. Put him out there. I mean, you don't have to run him for office if you don't want to, but let him get out there and say what needs to be said. That's what I don't... Why? Listen, Strickland is similar in age to Biden. Is he not older, isn't he? I think he's older.
Yeah.
He could be.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Strickland is not Biden. Strickland has aged better for whatever reason.
Yes. Biden has aged poorly.
Not well.
Yeah.
He had a rough life.
Yes. Well, I don't know about that, but it's just whatever happens to you when you get older. Everybody ages differently. Some people do it gracefully and some people don't. Well,
it's very interesting. I mean, you were in this a little bit, Mary Ellen, when you left office. This popped in my mind the other day because I'm looking through some of your archive, your stuff.
My stuff.
And one of the things I came upon is, I think it was the 2012 in that era, Josh Mandel was running again. Yeah, and you made a commercial. Josh Mandel was running against Kevin Boyce for treasurer.
Yeah.
Josh Mandel was the incumbent, and you made a commercial and you said, Josh Mandel, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
Now when you see that, that's powerful.
Yes, and I felt that too.
Yeah.
I did not like him at all. Where is he?
He tried to run for Senate. He didn't make it through the primary.
He tried to run for Senate, and now he has marital problems, and he fell off.
Let me see if I can...
There you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. You.
Wow, there you go. You're happy to see that finally it all came to be with Josh Mandel.
I have never liked people that ran against me, but he didn't run against me. I still didn't like him.
You just didn't like him.
No, I didn't.
No, but you know what? Honesty's refreshing. I mean, you've said the same thing about Pete Rose.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And you know what? Those pictures, there was a picture of you and Pete Rose.
Yes.
I thought, oh my gosh, if this picture could talk.
Yes.
But you know, that's refreshing. Just
Yeah.
let her rip.
Yeah.
And we need someone who's not only direct, but someone who's media savvy. I was having a conversation with a teacher at my school about this. Well, you know, it's fine to be focused on old media and TV and print journalism and all that, but you know, that's not how the young people get their information. That's not how a lot of people now get their information. It's all on social media. And the person who could most effectively utilize social media is going to win the argument, and right now that's the Republicans.
Well, all I'll say is this, and again, I'll go back to the Betty White thing. Betty White was never super popular in her career, but when she appeared on Saturday Night Live, which is a younger skewing show, the episode that she hosted, the thing that got her there was a Facebook campaign. And she's not Facebook, but the kids like Betty White. And when she got on there, it was the highest rated episode they'd had in like 10 years.
Really?
Because kids tuned in. I never understood this idea of if you're older than your audience, like young people will not watch old people. What? They'll watch anything that's entertaining.
Or, well, what you do, you get, if you have, like, let's say, the staff of Maxine Waters, you get her staff.
She's entertaining.
To put her in front of a phone. You give her one of those small microphones that all the TikTok people have. You put her in front of a phone, and her staff's recording it. You make it into some edit on TikTok. The young people will see it, and they, you know, this is someone who's has energy despite their age. They're effectively communicating something that's just a very strong message, and that will resonate. And just there's a whole plethora of factors that we've talked about, but we just need someone who knows or they have a staff who knows how to effectively communicate in this age, and someone who has energy and a strong message. That's what we need.
That's what that's one of the reasons also I thought Mary Ellen's video was very effective when I saw it again, is because it's 30 seconds. It was a commercial time. You know, that's about the attention span we have now. Mm-hmm. If something like that went up on TikTok and you saw, you know, a former treasurer saying, "I'm ashamed of you," to the president or somebody like this, or "You should be ashamed of yourself,"
Yeah.
you know, that catches your eye. Why don't Democrats do that? Why aren't they out there doing that?
I wish I
Jack
knew.
Schlossberg thinks they should be.
Yeah, and I mean, he says some odd things sometimes, but you know.
I think it's on purpose. I don't think he's doing, like when he said, "Is my grandma hotter than Uma?"
But I mean,
what's J.D. Vance's wife? What's her name?
Usha.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I think he does that on purpose to get people to click.
Well, it's got to be him. It's got to be Stephen A. Smith. It's got to be someone who can catch people's attention.
Well, I think you need I don't know.
We had a good person back when I was involved, Jerry. Is it Jerry Springer? Does that name ring a bell?
The
guy that did my TV spot.
oh, he did your TV.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was.
My TV spot that I did when I ran the first time, which was miraculous. It was all due to him that it turned out so good, because it wasn't due to me. Because I was nervous, and he wouldn't let me have anything to read. I had to memorize the whole thing. And if he were, I think he's retired now. I haven't seen him for a year now, but I thought he needs to get back in the business. He was so good. And he would just knock people right and left all the way through, yeah.
Well, and I think that is what Democrats have seemingly become afraid to do, and Republicans are not afraid. They're afraid to say certain things. They think they'll be ostracized or something. I'm not sure what it is. But it is. I think it's hurt them in the long run to not get out there and say those things.
What doesn't make sense to me is who are we afraid of? Because our supporters, you know, you might make a supporter mad by saying something off color. That's completely fine. But at the end of the day, if you have a mad supporter who's upset that you went dark or something, are they going to go vote for a Republican now? Like, Trump got people out to vote for him because he was direct and he had energy and he was something new. Now Trump is old, and people would want someone who's new and direct and energetic. But their question is, where is that person? I have no idea.
But why is it so hard? I mean, that's what I don't understand. Why is it so hard for the Democrats to find a provocateur? I mean, there's a lot of people.
A lot of older people. I mean, those guys that were in the unions, boy, they could tell it like it was. We don't have them.
It's something that Democrats...
I think of like a guy who used to be on my show all the time, Charles Rangel. Now, a lot of people didn't like Representative Rangel, but boy, he was entertaining when he came on.
I never heard of him.
Yeah, Charlie Rangel.
He was congressman from New York City. He
For
was
a long time.
incredibly powerful, but he got into some trouble.
He got into some trouble, but he stayed, and at the end he was lauded. He's still alive, I think. But when he came on, he was entertaining. He spoke in a way that it wasn't politician talk. It wasn't guarded. He just said what he thought.
I wonder why I can't remember him.
I bet if you saw a picture of him, you'd know.
You think?
Yeah, because he was there a long, long time. I'm sure he was there when you were there.
Evidently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, we're scared that we might have...
But Ted Kennedy was a great person like that. Ted Kennedy spoke out like that. People like to hear Ted Kennedy speak and do his thing.
The other issue might be just there might be 5 or 6 different people who are trying to go on the talk shows, trying to, be on social media, and just no one's getting any traction. This is an issue that we're not used to because you have someone in such a high position, J.D. Vance, who's readily accessible on Twitter and on TikTok and on social media. No one else has done that. And we have leaders who just aren't really familiar with how to respond.
But what do you make of J.D. Vance? It's interesting. Trump was asked during a Super Bowl interview if he was ready to endorse J.D. Vance, and he said no.
Yeah, right. I heard that. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
of course he wouldn't.
I mean, he can effectively... evidently so. He can effectively communicate and get on TikTok. And, in the debates, I thought he'd be a big problem for Walz. Because he's, was on TV for a long time. He knows how to sound normal and, kind of common sense. But the things that he said, I think anyone who stops and thinks about what's possible is more scared of him than they are of Trump.
I remember that vice presidential debate.
I think so, too.
Well, I remember that vice presidential debate, and it seemed to me like they tried to cram Walz with too much information and tried to tamp him down.
Yeah.
And he didn't come off well, I thought, in that vice presidential debate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people probably have a more positive opinion of Vance than they would if they were around him during the Ohio Senate race
I think
2 years
you're
ago,
right.
was because during that debate he just sounded so reasonable, and they never disagreed. They were, old-fashioned debate style. They were respectful to each other. They didn't yell at each other. They were in their time. They said that I agree with my opponent on a lot of this, on whatever they're saying. So I think he did a great job in that debate of sounding normal. Anytime he's in public talking to people, he sounds normal and he sounds common sense.
You know what I can't figure out? Okay, this new amendment to the Constitution has been proposed that would allow Trump to run for a third time. Okay. Now, theoretically, let's say that happens. Because a lot of people feel the reason he would not endorse J.D. Vance and say that's because he wants to be the guy in 3 years. Okay, so let's say you endorse legislation or put it out there and it passes that you can run for a third term as president. Why wouldn't Obama run? That would open the door for him. He's younger than Trump. Why wouldn't Bill Clinton run? Bill Clinton's younger than Donald Trump. But see, I don't think the Democrats think like that.
No.
Why would... That's the only thing stopping those two from running. I think they would certainly fare well.
I saw this line in that amendment that it would have disqualified a president who served 2 consecutive terms. The text of the amendment would explicitly not allow Obama.
So you have to serve them
or
consecutively.
Clinton.
Okay.
So it would only allow Trump or President Cleveland, God rest his soul.
Oh.
But it would not allow a president who served
So only if
consecutive
you weren't
terms.
consecutive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's-
Yeah.
So Biden could run again.
Yes, he could.
I don't know that they would want that at this point in the Democratic
No,
Party.
no, he's
Just-
not up to it.
The Democratic Party needs to. I mean, we just elected a new chair a couple of weeks ago, and we need to be hearing more from him. Where's this newfound Howard Dean 50-state strategy that he's been talking about?
Oh, look what happened to Howard Dean.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. Well, the new chairman, nobody's ever heard of him, and
Well,
I hope he gets to be known.
yeah. I mean, I was when I was at the convention. I was
Did you meet him?
no, but I met his vice chair. She was my seatmate on the bus a lot of the time, and it sounds to everyone, like to every Minnesota Democrat who I was talking to, like he's the best guy ever. And I'm sure he is, because they've gotten a lot done in Minnesota. This last
Yeah.
term, they really got a lot done, and Republicans haven't won an election there in 20
Yeah,
years. So
right.
they're doing something right, and they have a solid message. They just need to translate that to the national stage now that they're running the national party.
Well, speaking of Ohio, and speaking of celebrity, I guess I should say, is the transition to go from here. Today, our new lieutenant governor was confirmed in Ohio. It's former Ohio State football coach Jim Tressel is the lieutenant governor, a man who has never run for political office, a man who did not get this job by running for political office. He was appointed. Now, some people feel he's Mike DeWine's hand-picked successor. That's why he got this position. Some people feel he just got this position so DeWine can be more popular as he goes out. What do you think?
I think that Mike DeWine is very smart. He hasn't been in office for 50 years, 45. He hasn't been in office a long time by chance. So he knows what he's doing. I'm sure he doesn't want Vivek Ramaswamy to be because without anyone else, he will be the guy. So that opens the window. Will Jim Tressel run for governor? I don't know. But DeWine could have picked so many just horrible people. The state house is the swamp, and Jim Tressel is not a creature of the swamp. So that when I saw that, I was was like, wow, that's nice. Because it's not a crazy person.
Yeah, but isn't this now? See, but here's the thing. Now, isn't this a little bit of an ego trip though on Jim Tressel's part? Because I mean, the governor comes to you and says, "Listen, you've never held office. You've never run for office. You've been a football coach. I'm going to make you the lieutenant governor of Ohio." I mean, the fact that Jim Tressel took that to me is a little,
Well, I mean, if anyone,
I mean, I don't know.
I think nine out of 10 people would accept a
Oh,
government
I think
position.
so too. Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
really, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like he's totally naive. I mean, he was president of Youngstown State
Yeah,
for a
but
long
God
time.
forbid if Mike DeWine dies. I mean, you got Jim Tressel running the country. I mean,
But-
what are you going to do at the State House? Be running layups? And,
Well, I mean,
does he know anything about government?
I'm not sure he does, but I think he's been active in some school choice. I mean, he was big with that LifeWise thing, that school where you send your kid out of the school for some of the day to go learn about the Bible, and he was kind of big in that, which is why some Democrats don't like him. I mean, it's well known that he's a Republican. It's well known that he's been active in politics. I saw that he, what's his name? Joe Schiavone from Youngstown. I think I saw that he donated to his campaign for governor when he ran for governor in 2018 as that guy who was a Democrat. So
I think I interviewed Jim Tressel last year or the year before, and I said, because he was leaving Youngstown State, and I think I asked him if he would ever run for politics because that was in the air at the time, and he said no. He said he was too old for that. Well, I guess it's the horse of a different color now.
Well, yeah. This was an easy thing to accept.
Well, that's why I'm not sure. I tend to lean right until somebody tells me different. I think he's just there to make DeWine look popular the last 2 years. I don't think he's going to run for office. Yost has already started his campaign. Ramaswamy most likely is going to announce this month. Do you know what Tressel would have to do just coming into this position to get a campaign off the ground this quick?
If you're already the lieutenant governor, it helps. I mean, Yost is going to crash and burn. Polls already.
I said that, but people told me people know Yost and.
Why is he going to crash and burn?
Just because he's a bland, they play musical chairs in the executive of the state. They just switch positions every 8 years, and he's done nothing remarkable. Where, Ramaswamy will have the Trump endorsement. He'll have, the support of...
I'll tell you, if he has the Trump
of
endorsement, Tressel might as well just go home in Ohio.
Yeah.
But
because the DeWine endorsement doesn't mean all that much in Ohio right now.
But you've got to keep in mind, Trump's a really big fan of Big Ten football. You remember in 2020 he campaigned, I brought back Big Ten football, and you've got national championship head coach. I mean, at the end of the day, it'll make DeWine look good, and it'll make people...
Isn't Ramaswamy, though, one of those millionaires who Donald Trump put up in the front row?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
See, he likes that better than Big Ten football, I think. I think he likes the millionaires.
Well, he's not a good person.
Hey, I mean, I was told that the Republicans were the party of the working class.
That is
And,
wrong.
That is what they say. That's what they say here.
When they said that, I thought, boy, oh boy, they've even stolen that, And, the Democratic Party is the party for the working person.
So, Mary Ellen, do you think Tressel is going to run for governor?
Well, I didn't think he would. I thought he was just in there to hold down the spot.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
But we could be wrong,
Would he be a guy... You're a fan of Ohio State football. He's not really a politician. Would he be eye-catching for you on the ballot?
Well, it would depend on who he's... Probably not, because I'm not going to vote for a Republican, probably.
Yeah, and if somehow everything changed and he did run, he'd pick some person who is very objectionable as his lieutenant, I think, to shore up the right of the party.
See, but I saw this as a provocateur showbiz move by Mike DeWine.
And
clearly he has no experience. But let's put him in there because people know who he is.
But hey, you can say the same thing about Tommy Tuberville, beloved Auburn football coach, and he's now a U.S. senator, and he sits on some of the most powerful committees in the Congress. He was just a football coach.
No, I'm not saying he's just a football coach. I'm just saying that I think there is less than 2 years to the gubernatorial race. Jim Tressel is just today getting in politics. People have already started their gubernatorial campaigns, and I think that he knows what the landscape is. And I think DeWine is seen as very unpopular right now. He followed Amy Acton during the COVID thing. He's only got 2 years left. And I think this was just a very good PR move for him. He knows Lieutenant Governor has no power. He knows that it's a good PR person to go out there and go to his little ice cream socials and things like that. Why not choose him? I'm not sure Jim Tressel would have would Jim Tressel want to run a campaign? I mean,
Probably
they're going to
not.
go into his closet.
I mean, I saw some leak that said that he was originally offered the Senate gig, and he said no.
I mean, Tressel...
A senator offered to be senator?
Yeah, it was
come on.
Local state house blog, but it's...
Do they just offer things to anybody anymore?
Good heavens.
But,
okay.
I'm not sure. Anything can happen. Because this is politics in the year of our Lord 2025, and nothing surprises me
Well, that
anymore.
was Amy Acton. She's showbiz. I mean, she's really got no political experience.
No.
She's not ever run for office before. She's a little in that...
So if she's running, then why not have Tressel run? If they're both tied to...
No, he can
DeWine
run. I'm
or-
not saying he can't run. I don't think he's going to run.
I would like to see her run against him, really. I think that would be a good choice for her.
See, I think
Yeah.
that this opens up a lot of problem for Jim Tressel, though, because some of his players are Democrats, and they're going to be used in ads
Yeah.
against him. Jim Tressel did this, Jim Tressel did that.
That's going to be pretty bad,
Yeah. Plus, I just think...
And she doesn't have anything bad against her, does she?
Well, she's got in playing devil's advocate here, she's got Mike DeWine. And Mike, not a lot of people like him on either side, and if you're tied to Mike DeWine, if you were at his side at a press conference every day for several months, then...
Well, isn't Tressel now tied to Mike DeWine?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Even again, that
I
by
don't
that
think
standard...
she's tied to Mike DeWine.
Well, I'm sure you would have... That would be a more potent attack from Republicans, because Republicans don't like DeWine, so they would try to tie her to Mike DeWine in a
I see
negative
what
way.
you mean. Okay,
So,
that could be.
But I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's.
I don't know.
knows?
I'm still waiting to see who the other Democrats who are going to run are. Rich Cordray was on Monday. I asked him, and he did not say no. He
And
didn't say yes, but he didn't say no.
I think I said this the last time, or one of the last few times.
He was on Jeopardy.
I know. What was the social media tagline? It was like, he's the nerd that I can trust, or something
Yeah,
like
there you
that.
go.
I mean, I was 12, and I thought that was a great thing when I saw it for the first time. But I don't know. I think, especially Democrats in Ohio, we're talking about we have no one, like, where are all the Democrats? We need a healthy primary, so we can kind of dictate how we want our message to be, what we want our message to be in this state. I don't know if it'll be Tim Ryan. I don't know if it'll be Rich Cordray. I don't know who it'll be.
Sherrod Brown.
Sherrod Brown. Who knows? But
Amy Acton's in.
Yeah. So, two-person primary, three-person primary, it doesn't matter. But I think, and I've thought that since Sherrod Brown lost, that immediately after that we need a statewide discussion of how our party should move forward. So it's not just an Amy Acton thing. It's
Well, she's
it's an
hanging
Ohio
in there as the
Democrat
only candidate for a while, but she's not doing a whole lot of talking either.
thing. Which this is.
That's not enough.
I don't want to veer off, but the former Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, she just announced she's running for governor of New Mexico as a Democrat, and I saw she put this up online. She's going to do a tour. As soon as she announces she's running, she's going on a 15 city tour across New Mexico to talk to people.
That's what
And
you
I
need
think
to do.
That's
right
what
there.
every single
Yeah.
Democrat running for any office needs to do.
That's right.
Well, and what is Amy Acton doing? That's the problem. She's just kind of staying at home right now. She's doing an occasional interview if she's asked, but she needs to be out there talking to people. I don't know who's running that campaign.
Which, I mean, I'm sure things will start to pick up as other people run.
Well, I think
As
if
other
I was the
people get in.
only candidate, I certainly would take that time to really put myself out there.
Yeah.
You
have to run as hard as you can and be seen as many places as you could be seen. And I don't think she's doing it either.
I mean, I know she was, making an effort. She was, at the convention. She went around to some local Democratic clubs last year. So, I mean, she kind of was doing that sort of already. So,
we'll see how it all shakes out in the end. Christian's got to leave us here after this break. We're going to take one more break, come back with Matt Morgan and Mary Ellen, and wrap up the program tonight. And we're going to drop that commercial in from Mary Ellen in 2012 so people can actually see what we've been talking about.
You're going to play that?
Do you want us to play it?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll be back. What do you think the groundhog's going to do?
I think the groundhog's going to turn. We've had such a cold winter. I think he's going to say we're going to have an early spring.
What do you think, Matt? Groundhog on Sunday? It's going to be 50 degrees, I hear.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's going to be a elongated winter. We're winter started too late this year.
An elongated winter. Mary Ellen, what do you think's going to happen on Sunday?
Oh, I hope we're going to have a warm spring.
An early spring.
Yes.
Groundhog right around the corner. Who is the groundhog? We don't know.
You're feeling just the same. But seasons come and seasons go. I'll make you smile again. If you don't believe me, take me by the hand. Can't you feel you're warming up? Yeah, I'm your weatherman. Cold winds blowing, snowing, driving everyone insane. Hard rain's falling, let it patter down your window pane. Precipitation is falling all your plans.
Here goes the groundhog pizza. And our groundhog right there. This one right here. Let's find out what the prediction is this morning. Bob?
Sorry, my fingers are frozen.
Bob's fingers are frozen. Here, let's get the prediction out of there. There it is. Oh, Bob, what is the prediction?
6 more weeks of winter.
6 more weeks of winter. Oh no, we're in the opposite direction.
They say it's gone, say when it's done. That don't mean a thing, 'cause I'm the one that moves the sun. For you I turn it into spring. So when you're feeling lonely, try to understand. Baby, I can warm you up, 'cause I'm your
Ellen Withrow is the groundhog. Mary Ellen, come back here so we can hear you on the microphone. It is so good to see you.
Oh.
Nobody guessed you.
Isn't that great?
Isn't that we kept it a
Yes.
secret?
Yes. You know, this may be the height of my career.
This is the height of your career. Oh my goodness! It happened here on this February 2nd, 2025.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me here, and it meant a lot. This is the definition of community. This is Marion coming together, some of the best people in Marion. Mary Ellen Withrow, what a surprise when you guys took the hood off the groundhog. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and please have me back next year.
The prediction today with the groundhog pizza, 6 more weeks of winter. That's a little tough, but we'll survive. But the identity of the groundhog was amazing. 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, who said it was the height of her career, and she has had some career. Marion's favorite daughter, Mary Ellen Withrow, was the groundhog.
I like to do things for Marion because Marion has been really good to me. They elected me back in the beginning, and I couldn't have done all the things that I did if I hadn't been elected. So I like to do whatever I can for Marion and Marion County.
But 6 more weeks of winter, Mary Ellen, is our prediction.
I got the wrong thing.
I know.
I think it's fun to be a groundhog. It's the height of my career.
Hey, Scott Spears back here with the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow. Christian Pearson had to go to an event tonight, so we are joined by Matt Morgan, who's normally with us, but had something to do before he came here tonight, so he's going to be with us during the last half hour. We've talked about a lot, but one thing we haven't talked about and have to talk about with Mary Ellen being here is Trump's proposal to eliminate the penny. Now, Mary Ellen, what do you make of this?
Well, they were trying to do that when I was there.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we had organizations to save the penny and organizations to do away with the penny. And it never really went anywhere. In fact, when I would be interviewed by the different senators, that was their first question. Well, that plus the dollar bill too, the dollar coin or the dollar bill. That was on their minds back then. But at that time, the penny cost less to make it than it was worth. But now it costs more to make it than it's worth. But the nickel costs almost 10 cents to make. So what's he going to do? Do away with the nickel too?
So do you think this penny thing will have blowback? Because it does cost more to make the penny than the penny is actually worth.
Yeah, the fact that, you know, they sell things at $1.99, $2.99, they're not going to be able to do that. It's going to they have to make it at the 5-cent level.
Well, what I'm confused about, I mean, if you used a credit card, or people still do use checks, if you did that, you could write it for any amount. So if you don't manufacture any more pennies, it doesn't mean pennies go away, does it?
Well, the credit card, I don't, you know, that's another point that it could be what would happen, that the credit card would take the place of having pennies. I never thought of that. You know, there's a lot more credit cards now than there was back when I was in office. In fact, credit cards were considered, you had a lot more damage from credit cards than if you used money. And I still believe that.
Now, the pennies themselves, though, do we still manufacture a whole lot of pennies?
Oh, yeah, we manufacture, let's see, I did know how many. I'm afraid to say because I can't really remember, but we manufacture a lot of pennies, yeah.
What happens to the old pennies?
Well, They last a long time.
Well, that's what I would think, that
Yeah.
pennies wouldn't exactly go away because we're not manufacturing them. Wouldn't people just use the pennies that are already in circulation?
Well, they would until they didn't have any more. Yeah.
What would cause a penny to go bad? Why would you have to?
There's no penny going to go bad. I mean, they're going to still use pennies until they run out.
Right. So, I guess how would they run out? How would if?
Well, people, you see them laying on the ground.
Well, that's true. I think you'd have
Yeah.
to pick them up from now on.
Well, you start picking them up.
Yeah, that's right. This is a rare thing. You've got to pick them up and take them to the bank.
Yeah.
Because it just would seem to me that when somebody says we're going to do away, because that's what we're going to do away with the penny. Well, we've got a lot of pennies in circulation. Where are they going to go?
Well, they're going to stay in circulation.
Right.
Yeah, until they're all dropped on the floor.
I mean,
right.
An issue with change that a lot of people don't spend the change that they get. Like if people like spend like a dollar bill and then they get change back, it'll probably end up in like a cup holder or like a coin jar, and it'll just sit there. Nobody really ever uses that change.
Yeah, unless they go on a trip and they need the money. Yeah.
How many stores? I mean, every grocery store and department store you go into has one of those coin changers.
Yeah.
So I think people use their change. They may not use it right in that moment, but I think they eventually use it at the end of the month when they're about out of money. They go in and they constantly use those change machines. What happens then? I don't understand how this even works. Is it just credit cards? Is everything a dollar amount? How does that work with sales tax?
Yeah.
Do they just round it all up?
So everything's just rounded up. If it's 401, it's $5. I don't think that works.
Like if it would be if they got rid of the penny, if
so
your
it's 405.
Yeah, if your total ended up being.
I'm telling you what, you've got
405.
You've got kids starting to work right now who can't count change anyway, and now you're going to have them doing roundups and things. I'm telling you, you're going to have more money lost than you've ever seen. I mean, that's a serious thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like reading a clock. They don't really know how to do it.
They don't teach people to read clocks anymore.
And count change.
I tell you.
I've seen that. They don't know how to count change.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have them being the ones to round up everything.
I've seen it too.
Yeah. I just don't know that this is going to be long term a good idea.
Well, it's going to backfire probably.
Well, what about Lincoln?
Yeah.
He's on the penny.
Well, I know he probably feels bad.
He would not like this, that he's going away.
Yes.
Poor Lincoln.
Well, they said today that the reason he's doing away with the penny is because it's the only blonde coin that looks like him.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's got that color.
Yeah,
It's
right.
got that
Right.
orangish sort of color
Yeah.
going on. I don't know, Matt. You think it's a good idea to get rid of the penny?
I don't. I quite frankly, I don't know enough about pennies or.
But is this a
change
big
really,
money
but-
problem? I mean, honest to God.
I would say that like with the little knowledge of change I have, I would say that I'm not necessarily opposed to getting rid of the penny. I don't know how they would do, like you said, the sales tax and things like that, but I mean it would certainly save money, I would think. But then I mean at that point you'd also have to look at I'm sure that it costs more than a nickel to make nickels, so how far do you go with that?
That's right. Well, then you get into the dime. The others say they're okay.
Yeah.
But the nickel is very expensive. Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's going to round up or round down. They're all going to round up.
Yeah, they round up.
So this in the
Yeah.
end is going to be very hurtful for the consumer. But people don't think... See, I think that's really what's behind it. I think it's a way to round up. It's a way to get another 4 cents out of you.
Yeah, that's what the people that were against doing away with the penny would say. I mean, that's their argument.
And isn't my understanding it costs like 2.5 cents to make... I mean, you're only... Make a penny. You're only losing 1.5 cents. Well, if you have to round up 4 cents every time you're buying something from now on, that's more than 1.5 cents that it is to make the penny. Mm-hmm. I don't understand half the things that we do. Now, it's very odd. I don't know. People like the penny.
You're giving a good argument there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I just think people are talking... See, I think one of the problems going on right now with all these executive orders is people see them exactly on the face of what they are, not really what's behind them. Mm-hmm. You know, like immigration. They look at that and they say, well, that's about trying to get rid of all the people from south of the border. I'm not really sure that that's what that's about. I think what it's more about is I have the power to do what I want, and people should live in fear. I think that's what the tariff thing is all about. I don't think anybody wants to increase the prices of things. It's I want to show that I am powerful.
Right.
And follow me. And if you do that enough times, people do start to believe you're powerful, and they don't challenge you on things.
Yeah, that's why some of them voted for him. They
Well-
thought he was powerful.
Well, and Matt, I want to come to you. We talked about it a little earlier in this episode, but we're in the middle of what they're calling a constitutional crisis right now, because President Trump signed an executive order to defund certain programs that were funded by the federal government. A judge said you can't do that. That's illegal. They put an order in. Trump continued to defund those programs through Elon Musk and the Treasury. The judge came back, said you're breaking the law. You have to stop this. And Trump basically told his Justice Department, don't pay attention to this judge. Don't enforce the rule. So the rule's not getting enforced, even though the judge has made their decision. So where does it go from here? Most likely the Supreme Court. And if it does go there, if they rule for Trump, that's the end basically of Congress's power, because they have the power of the purse. But if they rule against Trump, who's going to enforce their ruling? The Justice Department, who's not enforcing the judge's ruling? Why? Tell me, let's start there, because you did not feel that the Justice Department under a president would not enforce a judge's ruling. It's now happened.
The Justice Department's whole, their sole job is to uphold the Constitution. So I don't know what to say, honestly.
Didn't work. It was a nice idea while it lasted.
They didn't do it. That's
Yeah.
Well, what do you make? You felt that was a stopgap. That even though the Justice Department was appointed by the president, the head of it was appointed by the president, that they would still do the right thing. Well, that took about 3 weeks to find out that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. At this point, what do you do? I guess.
What do you
I don't
do?
know.
That's right. What do you do?
We don't know who's going to do what anymore.
I just find it shocking that a federal judge,
Yeah.
their ruling is not being upheld.
Right.
Elon Musk continues to go through the Treasury and defund what he wants.
Yeah.
They know they're doing things that are deemed illegal, and the Justice Department is not stopping them.
And back to the people that they told they could leave and get money until September. Where is that? They have said that they can't do that, but yet some people are still working. Some people quit.
I think over 20,000 have
Yeah.
taken the deal.
Yeah. Everything is like you don't know whether you're going to get to do it or you're not going to get to do it. You don't know who's in charge.
No, and I think that's what a lot of this executive order stuff is to get everybody confused.
Yeah, we are confused.
When we are confused,
Yeah.
how could you not be
Yeah.
at this particular point? Who knows what... Is Elon Musk the president?
No, he was not elected, and there's millions of signs out there that say that.
Yeah. But he certainly is acting like it.
Yes, he sure is. Yeah.
And here we go.
And they had that press conference today, and Trump stands right behind him.
He does.
He's standing up for it, and I thought maybe he'd get upset and throw a fit, but he didn't. Yeah.
This is one of the rare people that Trump never speaks ill of. I've never heard him say anything bad about Elon Musk.
Because I think he respects his intelligence and his money. I think that's where it's at.
Well, and Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed right before we taped this today.
Yeah.
So she's the head of the intelligence department now. Now, this is a person who had good relations with Syria and Russia. So there was Congress's chance, Senate's
That's
chance.
one way to put it.
Yeah, well, there was the Senate's chance to stop that one, and they just blew that one right through.
Boy, that is so scary of what he's going to do with the Ukraine. And I mean, he claims he's making some claim about he's going to settle the war, isn't he saying that?
I think he's, and yeah, I think,
And
Yeah, he
made that statement, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he's gonna him and Putin have agreed to open negotiations to stop the Ukrainian war after the prisoner release, or the prisoner swap, I guess. And then
Well, that was for Israel, wasn't it? For Gaza?
oh well, I mean there was another one. We let go. I don't know any of the names of the people, but we let go a Russian prisoner in
Yeah, we
exchange for an
did.
American prisoner.
yeah, but who's involved in this? Is Zelensky from Ukraine involved in these talks?
The White House
I
refused to
haven't
answer
heard
the
of it.
question.
Refused to answer the question. Well,
Uh-huh.
that tells you where he's going to be.
Well, yeah.
So basically, Ukraine is going to be part of the new Russian Empire, and that's that, I guess.
After they've fought so hard.
Yeah.
I sure hate to see that.
2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
how must you feel at this
Yeah.
particular point if you're
Yeah.
Zelensky there?
Yeah.
And is Putin really going to stop there?
Oh, no.
People
No.
think Putin is a good guy, and he's just got that's enough. I got that.
I don't think Putin's a good guy. I just don't think he's stupid. Like with how much he like, I understand that like he might want Poland. I think of his best. He might attack Belarus, but Belarus is already a puppet. I don't see why he would attack Belarus. He might go for Poland, but like again, why would he go for Poland? Then he has all of NATO, and he struggled against Ukraine, and now you attack a NATO
And what's
country.
all in NATO? Is that us?
Well, as of
not
currently.
Yeah, you think we're going to jump in there against him?
Well, again, but are we gonna support? Like, are we gonna have boots on the ground for Russia? Are we gonna support Russia?
No, I don't think we are, but I don't think NATO's all that powerful without
I think
us.
that
No.
I think that Poland and Germany and the United Kingdom can pretty good and well handle somebody who was struggling against Ukraine.
If they feel the United States is not backing them,
Yeah.
I
don't think they're going to do too much
No.
without us.
I don't think they are. Why would they? I mean, where are these countries you're speaking of now? The United Kingdom and Poland, helping Ukraine. Are they helping them? Would they have been able to keep them afloat without the United States? Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So if we totally pull out again, and I'll tell you what, us going to Russia, our president going to meet with Putin, and Zelensky gets kicked to the side, you think that's not a message to all those NATO countries that would defend Poland?
Wouldn't that be awful?
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
We aren't on your side anymore. So go ahead and do what you want. You don't think Putin, I think, has said privately that his goal as a former KGB agent is to reassemble the USSR, the Soviet Union. So, I mean, he's not just attacking Ukraine to attack Ukraine.
I'm aware, but again, Ukraine wasn't part of NATO.
No, but other countries are, and if NATO does not have the United
but
States,
they wanted to be part of Ukraine.
They did want to
They
be part
wanted
of-
to be part of
they
it.
did.
Yeah, they applied, and there was a ruling put down that like another year or something.
Something.
Yeah, that they could be looked at.
All I know is somebody has to ask the question: what is our benefit to side with Russia in this?
Well, it's Trump's benefit.
Right.
It's not our benefit.
So, yeah, what in the end will that be? We probably will never know.
No.
And I'll tell you, the FCC is going crazy. They're bringing cases against ABC, CBS, NBC. They are going after PBS and NPR for how they do their sponsorships. They're going after Comcast, the whole company, because of DEI. The Associated Press was kicked out of the president's meetings because they won't say Gulf of America. They've filed a First Amendment lawsuit. I mean, what are we even going to know what's going on?
We don't.
Yeah, the way the press
It's
is being
in
handled.
such it's just like a jumble. Everything is this way or that way, and we don't know who's in charge.
Mary Ellen, Rich Cordray on Monday, with the defunding of the Consumer Finance Bureau, said that on a scale of 1 to 10, we're at a 10 right now of the alarm should be sounding for everybody. What do you feel? Where do you think we are on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I think it's bad. The people are being put into office that don't know anything about the outfit, and the fact that that is, he's going to be totally in charge because nobody knows what they're doing, and he'll do whatever he wants now.
You know what's interesting to me about this whole thing is the ease that he's doing it with.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you think there'd be a Republican that would stand up and vote the way they should just to be the correct person?
Is it, where are the Liz Cheneys?
Yeah.
Where is that group who were willing to lose their office to stop things?
Yeah, they get in the Senate and they think they're going to be there forever. And they're not. There's something going to happen here. I think, because it just can't go on like this.
I wonder what the final step is. Because the American people do seem to be complacent with everything that's happening.
I don't think they're very complacent. Have you seen the crowds?
I've seen crowds. I guess what I haven't seen is people fearful that they're going to lose their position.
Yeah, but there's huge crowds all over the United States. They showed them.
Yeah,
they show them every day.
You would think that would spur the congressmen, Republicans, and senators.
Yeah, and Rachel Maddow read a letter today that the Republican congressmen are sending out to their people because they're getting so many complaints, and they're not really answering the charge. The letter is just saying that we're taking care of this, and just covering a letter back so people will relax a little bit. But after looking at all these crowds everywhere, I mean, even in Columbus, Ohio, they showed even Columbus, Ohio, where Republican, and people are upset, but in front of Treasury, it was lots and lots of people.
Well, and interesting, today, we found out that New York was not complying, apparently, with the immigration laws. So now Trump is going after New York State. He said, I warned you, and you're not following through, so...
I think we'll hear more about that. I keep thinking we'll hear about the bad things they're doing in ICE. And I haven't heard anything yet.
Did you hear that the ICE director, I don't know if they're the ICE directors, I don't know if they resigned or were fired, but there was a shuffle in ICE because Donald Trump was upset that there hadn't been enough...
is that right?
Enough arrests.
Really? I had not heard that, and it makes sense. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, but we are at the point where there is a constitutional crisis, and what can the Democrats do? Because they're the opposition. They apparently would not vote for any of this. They don't have the votes to do anything. So what can they do? I mean, can they filibuster forever? Can they shut down the House?
Well, they were filibustering the other day. Did they quit?
I think they gave up.
Did they give up?
I think they did.
I was so excited about them filibustering. I thought, they're finally doing something. And then I didn't hear any more about it, and they gave up.
It's almost as if they've got the idea that let's let Trump do what he wants, and eventually that's going to make the people unhappy, and then we can come in and fill the void.
I mean, I think Trump's probably done enough at this point to upset a lot of people. I think that, I don't know how vocal they've been about it. I haven't really paid attention, but I mean, if the Democrats could just, I don't know, be very vocal about everything, all the, unconstitutionalities and things of that sort, I think that would certainly stir up some people.
Well, I think they're upset now. I really think they are.
It comes back to the question we had earlier on in the program that Jack Schlossberg has posed to the Democrats, JFK's grandson, who said that J.D. Vance is gaining traction by being on TikTok and becoming a provocateur, and the Democrats need somebody out there. They may not have the votes.
He scares me too because he's gaining ground. That's right.
Well, and he was a little bit of a celebrity too with that Hillbilly Elegy book, and now we've got Jim Tressel as the lieutenant governor, the football coach, and we've got the guy from The Apprentice as the president of the United States, and maybe that's what people want. People want celebrities. People want whatever.
A cakeistocracy.
Well, I don't know what they want. I think they enjoy being entertained. Do people really know what Donald Trump stands for? I don't think he knows what he stands for.
Oh, I don't think he stands for anything.
No, I think he's just day to day.
Yeah. He throws out all this stuff that just blows your mind, like taking over Hamas and everything. And next day it's something else. The next day it's something else. And, I mean, it just keeps going. And I swear, I mean, I don't know that I could think up that many things, really.
I am of the mind. I don't think he thinks about anything. I think he just, in the moment,
just splurts it
lets
out.
it go.
Yeah.
Whatever he thinks is going to be popular in that moment.
Well, maybe that's it.
Well, as I said, after the first election in 2016, when he beat Hillary Clinton and everybody thought that Hillary was going to win, I had Larry Merchant from HBO Boxing on, and I said, Larry, who knew him from all those boxing events that were held in the Trump Plaza and the Trump Casino, and I said, Larry, what in the world happened? Because he thought Hillary was going to win, and he said, a New York con man conned America. And anybody who's ever been to New York, who's ever been on the street, that's really what Trump is.
Yeah,
I mean,
he is.
He talks like the con men do.
Yeah.
He's very charming to the people he's talking to in that moment, and he wins that group over, and that's
Yeah.
what he does. It's the biggest, it's the best, it's the greatest. That's what a New York con man does. He says this house is gonna, this piece of real estate's the best piece of real estate. That's what he does, and that's what I always see when I see him. Is kind of that. Pitch you get when you go to the circus.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. And for some reason, Democrats have not been able to combat that.
That's right.
For whatever reason.
Yep.
I mean, I think somebody long ago should have said that to him.
Yeah.
But like even Kamala in the debate, which she won the debate, but she would just let him go. Maybe she should have said something, like, you're nuts, or you're a con man, or, they just kind of let him go.
Well, I thought she held her own in the debate.
I think she won the debate.
Yeah.
But I don't know if people pay attention, because the biggest...
I don't think they do.
The biggest thing to come out of that debate was the cats and dogs in Springfield.
Yeah.
So that's what they pay attention to. And interestingly enough, there was a front page story on the Dispatch this week that Springfield's mayor and government is now suing a neo-Nazi group who is attacking Springfield, has attacked the mayor, has attacked the Haitians there.
Had been in Columbus.
Yes, blood tribe or bloodline or something like that's the name. So neo-Nazis in Springfield, Ohio.
Well, I certainly think it's an interesting time to be around. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know that the. Do you think that the neo-Nazis have anything to do with Donald Trump's current presidency?
The group themselves?
Well, I mean, you weren't hearing about neo-Nazi groups doing marches in Columbus and neo-Nazi groups, harassing people in Springfield up until about, a couple years ago.
Well, I don't think they have a fear now. I wouldn't say they're in with the administration.
Oh, no,
but I think the fear is gone that something bad's going to happen. I think if a Democrat were in power, I think something would probably come down on them a little heavier than what currently is. I don't know. It's all interesting to watch.
Well, there's all these people that are in groups. I mean, the Proud Boys, and I think all of those groups are so bad. What else? The Proud Boys and the ones that got let out of
Oath Keepers?
Yeah, all that. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
I had the QAnon shaman on Friday.
Oh,
and yeah. One of the guys pardoned from January the 6th with the horns.
Was he one of those groups?
I don't think he was involved with any particular group except he believed the QAnon stuff. But he certainly got a lot of publicity that day for standing in Mike Pence's chair and having the horns and all that. And what's fascinating to me about him is I always believe, because, you know, Phil Donahue and Oprah and Larry King and all these talk shows, they've always had Ku Klux Klan members on and Nazis on. You put them on because you expect the audience to be smart enough to listen to somebody and go, wow, that person's nuts.
Yeah.
You know.
Except it backfired.
Yeah. Well, apparently that you put these people on now and it's a recruiting video or something. I don't know what's happened to the audience. I mean, I would not. Why? I would think. See, here's where I think I think we've shut people up too much. I think if you let somebody out who's nutty and they speak, then you go. I'll tell you something interesting. We're under 2 minutes here. That interview I did. A lot of people criticized me for that interview doing it, who were probably more Democratic. But a Republican, before they listened to it, said, "Thank you, Scott, for doing this. You're letting both sides on." You know, praise. Then they started to listen to it. And they got about 10 minutes in, and they went, "This guy's a nut job." So even the Republicans understood.
That you showed that what he was.
Right.
Which is important.
Up until that point, this Republican, and I think that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, evidently.
Put him out there on display.
What group was he in?
I think he was just part of the QAnon.
He wasn't in any special.
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
Well, was he married?
No.
Not married.
Not married, but he's buying guns now that he's been pardoned.
Yeah, and what's he think about in the future? What's he going to do?
He wants to do a television show.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. He was showbiz.
Yeah.
So there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, this has been a very interesting episode, and we'll continue to follow everything that's been going on. We thank Matt Morgan, Christian Pearson, who had to leave, and of course always thank the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow. For this episode of Scott Spears Now and The Exchange, we're heading for the dugout.